What is up, YouTube? And today I'll be sharing with you guys some tips for nightmare farming. If you guys are struggling with nightmare farming, whether it be 1-1, 6-1, or even 11-1 where I'm farming at, I'll be sharing with you guys some tips to make sure that you guys are doing as much damage as possible so you're able to start farming those accessories. So basically, in terms of farming nightmare, you really want to make sure you're using the right characters. The characters that you really want to use are going to be something like a Teo, Yunny. You can also use Clahan if you have him, which I do have, but just on build, he's also very good and works at T0. And even something like a Velica is extremely strong for farming now, especially after her buffs to her damage. So basically those 4 units are the main farmers in the game. There's some other ones you can use. Some people like to use Nia, although I don't really recommend it because her damage modifiers are extremely low. But outside of those 4, it's going to be harder to make other characters work, but it is doable if you want to like kind of theory craft to make something happen. But we're going to focus on these 4 characters today. And I'm going to focus on Teo because he's like the character that pretty much everyone went for on the beginner banner or the reroll. And I could focus on Yunny or even Clahan as well, but they're legendary plus units. If you have them, you can use them. They're a lot better than the other option, which is Velica. But I'll show you guys Velica as well, and you know, we're just going to showcase her because she's a lot easier to get because she's not a legendary plus. And you can also get her on the beginner banner that you do with that first 10 pull. So basically I'll be showing you guys what builds to go for on them and how you guys want to gear them to be able to farm. So let's actually start with Teo first. So my Teo is T7 obviously, but the biggest thing with T7 is that you get your crit rate to 100% on your skills. Without T6, you are going to have only a 30% crit rate boost. So I actually changed my gear a bit so it's more relevant because most people have him at T2 that are still struggling with Nightmare. And so I made him to 70% crit rate. And the best part about Teo is that with his skills, he has 2 AoE abilities. And even if you don't kill in the first one, you have a second one. And even if you don't kill in the second one, you can wait until you die and then you can kill on the third or even the fourth one. So you can kill either in the first AoE, or if you really need to, you can kill it in 4 AoEs. It doesn't really matter. It just affects the speed of the run, and you can improve the speed with Teo's team later on as you actually progress further. Now, in terms of build, if you have him at T2, because you need to reach 70% crit rate, you're going to want to run him on Avenger set. And the reason why is because it's just easier to reach that 70% crit rate threshold. And what I end up going is 1 crit rate weapon, and then you just go crit damage or attack percent on the weapon. Crit damage is technically better. And then you go attack percent on the armors. That's pretty much all you need. The substats are good to go for, damage if you can, but this is pretty much all you need to go for. Now, if you do have him at T6, it's a lot easier. You don't need any crit rate. This setup is what I go for. I actually go for this Avenger setup you can see in the temporary equipment slot. Not even on the best gear, but this is good enough to farm stage 11-1, which is pretty insane. Like, look at this weapon, it's so bad. But the reason why is because at T6, you are going to get 100% crit rate on your skills. So you can see I'll be having 5% crit rate, which is the base crit rate. And that's fine because you don't need it with Teo. You don't care about his basic attacks. And the reason why you want Avenger is because it does give you slightly more damage, but Assassin's good enough on T2. This will allow you to farm up to 6-1, and honestly probably even 11-1. You'll just have to die and then probably use 4 skills total. So that's what you want to make sure with Teo. Let's talk about Velica. Yunny and Clahan are a lot easier to gear, but Velica is a little bit harder because she is going to require a bit more stats. The reason is because she doesn't have a magic damage boost from like Velica does, and Clahan just does ridiculous amounts of damage, but Velica is still good. So the way you want to build her if you use her is you want to make sure that you have the same thing, 100% crit rate total. So you can see I'm at 70%, but she doesn't get any crit rate on her skills. She actually gets it from her passive. So you want to utilize this as well. Regardless, you want both farmers, whatever farmers you're using, to always be at 100% crit rate. And the easiest way to do this is by using Assassin set. It's pretty much the same setup. We have crit rate on the weapon, and the other 3 pieces, including one of the weapons, is going to be like a damage setup with all attack percent on the armors, and then crit damage on the weapon, preferably. Now, you don't want flat attack. I see so many like beginners use flat attack. It's just way worse than attack percent. Just like flat attack is just going to give you way less value because attack percent scales off your base stats, which is a lot higher. So you want to make sure that you have percentage. So that's basically it for Velica. She is going to do enough damage. For both characters, you're going to want to make sure you skill enhance their farming abilities. So for Teo, you want skill 1, skill 2, and passive is very good as well, because if you're dying, the physical attack boost can help you out. Not required though, if you're not dying. Even if you're dying, if you're already killing, you probably don't need it. For Velica, you really want skill 1 and you really want skill 2 as well. So these will both give you extra damage. Yeah, you definitely want both of these. The thing is, I don't have it and it still works. So, you know, if you guys are finding that you're lacking damage, skill 1 and skill 2 will be very important to get. The passive will also give you extra crit rate boost, which is nice. The magic damage boost doesn't apply in adventure, only in tower, so it doesn't really matter. But you really want skill 1 and skill 2. So basically that's it for like the gear. You just want to aim for full damage, and essentially, you know, 2 farmers makes it a lot harder because you will be needing to split your gear. But I'll show you guys how the runs actually go. So I'll show you guys the Ruby farming team. You just want to make sure you're using keys. You can end repeat battle upon losing if you want to do it, but I don't really like doing it because sometimes when I farm I lose like 1 out of 100. You want to make sure you're auto replacing, and also very important, you want to make sure you're prioritizing your skills. Now if you're using Velica, you want to use the magic vulnerability one into the burn one. If you're using Clawhan, you want to use the one that does damage, extra damage to higher health monsters first, and then the one that does extra damage to lower second. With Yunny, you want to use her 5 target attack first that sleeps into her second attack that hits 3, and then that's pretty much what we want to go for. Of course, make sure you turn 2x on, and your auto sell, it's really up to you. Just make sure you're not selling accessories because you'll need them. Another thing that you want to make sure is you have your pet set up. So the Teo team usually doesn't really need a damage pet, because if you die in res, you have 4 AoE attacks to kill, which will almost certainly kill if you have him T2. So I have him on a farming pet. You want to make sure that you have some sort of farming pet. The best one is going to be equipment and accessory drop rate. There are some other ones you can use as well. I think Mick gives you gold, so you can use a gold one. Does Area give you one as well? Area gives you extra fodder if you want more fodder. These are legendaries though, so you might not have them. In the case that you don't, or if you need more damage, you can use a damage buffing one for Teo. Sherry the cat will give you physical damage boost, which is really good. So, you know, the Teo team is usually one that's using the pet that gives you extra, you know, gold, fodder drops, or ideally the one I have to get extra accessories. And the equipment drop rate will also give you slightly more gold because you're selling it. Now with the magic team, usually when you're using Velica or Yunny, or if you're using Clawhan even, I find that this team has a little bit more trouble killing. So what I like to do is use a damage pet. So I'm using Yunji here. You can see this is a magic buffing pet. You can also use something like Note. This also buffs magic damage. If you're running 2 physical attackers, you can actually use Croa. Croa will give you some damage as well. So there's a lot of options, but I recommend using the magic team here. And so I'll show you guys the team now. You can actually see how it works. My Velica, keep in mind, doesn't have skill enhances, and I just have her on some leftover gear. So you're going to see that she doesn't actually 2-shot with her skills, I think. Maybe she does. Actually looks like she does, because she does so much damage. But basically, you know, you can see Velica is an extremely good farmer, even at T0 with like no skill enhances, which is pretty insane. But yeah, this is my Teo. He's going to go in, do a lot of damage. You can see, even if Teo doesn't 1-shot, as long as he's 2-shotting, or even 3-shotting, or even 4-shotting, it is fine. Because if this didn't kill, what you would do is you wait for your fodder to die, then the monsters will eventually kill him, and then he just resets his cooldowns and goes again. So that is pretty much it though for nightmare farming, and you know, some tips I can give you. Not really much to it. You just need to farm some gear from Ox King basically, and then you do want to make sure you unlock equipment slots, and you want to make sure you have the right stat combinations. I see a lot of people running flat attack, which is just not going to work. But before we end the video, I'll show you guys a coupon code you can use to get some free stuff. So the coupon code for today is Chain Sickle. If you type it in exactly like this, you will get some rewards in the mail. And you could see that with the coupon code, we did end up getting 2 summons. So nothing crazy, but just free stuff anyway, so you might as well take it. But yeah, pretty much it for this video though, guys. Thank you for watching. Make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe. And let me know in the comments down below what you guys want to see next.